Hey everyone, welcome to today's video. Today I'm going to be doing a logical breakdown on picking the best niche or niches or niche for your print-on-demand business. So let's go ahead and do this. So when we talk about niches or a niche, picking the best one or the best few that work for you, you got to ask yourself, what do you feel comfortable with? Now, before we even get into that and get into the semantics of that, we really have to have a spectrum of understanding for a niche. And typically, niches are compared by how much competition they have. So if we create almost like a graph here, a spectrum of competition, right? Here being low competition and here being high competition, right? So let's just write here competition. Well, that can't be the only thing we base a niche off of, right? The way we categorize a niche. Well, because competition is not the only aspect to a successful niche. We also have the concept of demand, right? So we have another spectrum here where we have demand. And maybe we could find a place where we can fit based on our skills, based on our experience, and based on our abilities. So here we can say that there's typically low demand, right? The lower you are down here, you'd have low demand, right? And then higher you go up, you have high demand, right? But it also goes to say for a situation like this where it's high demand, we can also say that there's also low competition, right, as well. If we go ahead and divide these quadrants, let's just use the blue marker here for the dividing the quadrants, right? And I'm using like a little dotted line here, but if we divide the quadrants, we have low demand and low competition. We have high competition, and we have even low demand, right? Low demand. And here we have high competition, and we have high demand. And the reason why I can validate this, right, based on the chart, is that the more we move this way, so I'll use green, for example, to represent high, the more we move this way, it's a high number, and also we have high over here, right? So anything in this section, right, anything up here, right, is high, and anything up here is high, right? So all this data here is high, or as high as it can go, really, right? And we have here and here and here. And then everything that's low would be, let's just use yellow for this, would be here, right? Because this is all low, right? Depending on what kind of spectrum we're looking at, but we have this, right? And that's an example of low. Well, this can also be low here as well for low competition, right? And so really what we can say is that the higher we go into things doesn't necessarily always create us more success. So this red arrow here doesn't necessarily create us more success, right? And let's go ahead and talk about what that is. So let's say we pick a niche that is high demand and high competition. Well, what is an example of a niche that's high demand and high competition? Let's use the color, let's use purple here to write down our niches. So let's say the dog niche or the dog niche, right? Well, in that case, dog niches would be high competition, high demand. Well, how can I validate that? Let's go over here to Redbubble and let's search for the word dog. Let's just go over here and type in the word dog, right? If we type in the word dog, there's 1.8 million results, and there's probably more and more every day. And on top of that, I can assume that a lot of people search for dog products. Now, there is no proof, right? There's no way I can validate this. Well, actually, that's not 100% true. Maybe we'll talk about that in a different video. There's no software that's going to tell you, hey, this is going to get X amount of sales, but there are certain ways that we can predict it. I'll leave that for a different video, but I could tell you, based on search volume, based on Google, based on my own understanding of things, that it does sell significantly well, okay? Now, that's the high competition, high demand arena of things. Well, what if we take a look a little bit deeper? What if there was something that we could find that's high demand but low competition? What kind of results would that create for us, right? What kind of results would that create for us? Now, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to outline this section right here, guys, because this section is actually really, really important. And I'm going to highlight this because this is something that's odd. It's odd here. Because what this is really, this is a money-making opportunity. So I'm going to highlight this in purple here, right? This section here. And because if something is in high demand, it means that a lot of people are searching for it, right? They're searching for it. But more importantly, there's low competition. There's a low, there's low, it's not it's not essentially it's a blue ocean strategy, essentially, right? It's not a red ocean. For those that don't know the difference, a red ocean means there's a lot of fish in the water, a lot of blood is being shed, a lot of competition, a lot of war, right? But if we're going into a low competition niche, there's not too much to compete on, right? And so this is a high demand situation. And the reason why we have this outlined is because this is valuable, extremely, extremely valuable, and it's one of its own. Well, let's go ahead and compare it to the opposite, which is I guess you could say its cousin right here, which is low demand but high competition. And this is the devil, okay? The reason why I call this the devil is because I'm going to wrap this around in red here, okay? Believe it or not, there's a lot of people that enter markets like these. And this is exactly what you do not want. You do not want high competition but low demand. Because what does that really mean, right? I know we're saying a lot of words that might sound meaningless, but low demand means there's a low desirability, low search volume. Nobody really cares about it. But high competition, right, means that there's so many people competing. There's so many different designs. And remember that whenever we compare the amount of demand, let me go ahead and write this, the amount of demand to competition, this is formation of a ratio. It could be 5-1. It could be 1-50, right? It could be 2-10, right? It could be different numbers. But in a ratio of low demand to high competition, that's an example of low demand of high competition. A number like this, 1-50, means for every one searcher or every one desired customer or customer who has desire for the product, there's 50 different designs to compete, right? That would be a losing scenario. We don't want to pick niches that have low demand but high competition, right? That's kind of not going to help us that much. The next best thing is one of my favorites, actually, to go ahead and enter is this market right here, the low demand, low competition. Now, why do I actually like this market? I'll be honest with you guys, a lot of people don't like this market. A lot of people don't like it. I'm just going to be straight up and honest with you guys. I repeat this, a lot of people do not like it, but hey, for me, this is my next best opportunity. And I'll tell you why this is one of my favorite opportunities, aside from this one, of course. This is my number 2. I'm just going to go ahead and write number 2 here, and I'm going to go ahead and write number 1 here, right? So this one is my number 1, the purple one here. My number 2 is low demand, low competition. Well, the reason why I like this is because really what this means is that I'm going to get sales, but I'm going to get them in a slower period of time, almost in an evergreen kind of way, right? And I'm not saying that all niches that are in this category are evergreen, but it really, what it means is that there's less sharks in the water. There's less people I have to compete with. Now, if you guys are familiar with the way I design, my design strategy, which you can find on autopilotpassiveincome.com, where I design 60 designs per day for redbubble.com, right? And I've showed this here. I'll leave the link in the description box down below. There are 30 videos within the course currently to date, and the course is currently $39.99. If you want to know all about the course, what it can offer you, if you need help with designing, just click on this video. And everything in the course is actually explained. So I show everything in the course, what you can expect, what can you get for all that. But if you know anything about my designing strategy, I like to design in large amounts. I like to do 60 designs per day because that's what Redbubble allows me to do, right? And because of my design strategy, this quadrant here, this section here, works best for me in a situation where I can't find my best situation, which is this one, right? So in a situation where I can't find this opportunity here, then what's my next best one is over here, my number 2, right? And the reason why this is a good scenario is, like I said, because of the way I design. And I design 60 designs per day. So if I find something that's low competition, it means there are not many sharks in the water. Now, if you guys remember, I put out a video not too long ago, maybe 2 months ago, called the war strategy, the Redbubble war strategy, or the print-on-demand war strategy. And what the war strategy was, it was a war strategy that was completely based on domination, murder, killing, winning, killing off the competition. Now, I don't mean to be evil or sound evil or anything when I say that. So, everybody give me a break in the comments. But really what I'm saying is that this is a battle. Print on demand is a battle just like every other battle out there. The only difference is it's a financial battle. And you're either going to make money or you're not going to make money. And the people who don't make money, well, the victors goes to receive all the spoils. But guess what? The victors don't share. The victors, there's no donation fund, right? There's no donation fund for the people who don't make money. So really what you have to be aware of is that as a seller, you want to give yourself the best opportunity to be a victor and to be a winner. And this is the next best opportunity because if there's less sharks in the water, well, that means I can dominate faster. I can dominate better. Let's say, for example, there's a niche with, let's say, 60 designs, right? I have the ability to create 60 designs per day. Let's say there's a small demand for the product. Let's say in that whole entire niche, let's say 5 products are being sold amongst those 60 designs. Well, in that case, that would be a low demand type of product, but it would also be low competition. Well, I can spend a full week creating 60 designs every day for a full week. That's 420 designs roughly, right? If I whip out the calculator here for those who don't know how I got that number. If I'm producing work for 7 days a week and I multiply that by 60 designs because I'm doing 60 designs per day, it's 420 designs for the week. Now, out of all these 60 designs, it's not 60 designs anymore, it's a total of 480, assuming no one else posts. And out of those 480, I own 420 of them. If I own 420 of them, I have the majority share. There's a bigger chance that I'm going to get the sale over my competitors, right? And so what that would mean is I have the best chance of getting those 5 sales per day for me. Now, is there going to be a chance where the competitor gets the sales? Of course there is. But out of all, mathematically, I have a good chance, right? So that is my second best opportunity right here, is low demand, low competition. The third best opportunity is this one. Now, this is not an opportunity, I will be honest with you, that I typically go for. I typically do not go for situations like this because unless I'm going to put a lot of marketing power behind it, it's just not worth it to me, right? And maybe I could actually zoom out here on... Can I zoom out? I'm not even sure how this works here. I guess I can't zoom out, but we'll just leave it the way it is. And we'll do a yellow outline here. Yellow outline for quadrant number 3, and I number it quadrant number 3 because it's the second to last in least desirability. Okay? Typically I won't go here unless it's just for, specific factors that come into play that, I haven't really discussed it here publicly, but it has to do with, a tagging strategy. But typically I won't go here. I won't go here in quadrant 3 because what quadrant 3 is high competition and high demand. The reason why I typically won't go here is because when there is a situation where there is high demand, eventually it will become quadrant 3. It will become high competition as well. Before a quadrant can become quadrant 3, it must become quadrant number 1, which is high demand and low competition, right? At this point, there's only one thing for it to change, which is the competition. So eventually, all quadrants move from quadrant 1 to quadrant 3. Eventually. It's only a matter of time. But the skilled seller, the skilled print-on-demand seller, finds these markets that are quote-unquote low competition, untapped markets, if you will. And nothing is truly untapped, but you get what I'm trying to say. And the point is that you use the war strategy by completely dominating, right? And you dominate early and fast so that when the competitors come, you've already established a good history of sales so that you stay at the top of the rank. Now, what do we know about the top of the rank for Redbubble? Well, we know that relevancy, right? When we say relevancy, most relevant here, is selected based on 3 main criteria. The first criteria is sales. The second criteria, and not in any specific order, the second criteria is the keywords that are added in the tags. So those 2 criteria, and let's just forget about the third one for now, but for the algorithm in terms of relevancy, it fits up here, and you want to get those sales as fast as you can when you're in quadrant 1 so that when you get to quadrant number 3, you can have a solidified sales history so that you stay at the top. So that when competition rises, you're still acquiring sales later down the road for those specific designs. Now, quadrant number 1 versus quadrant number 3 is a little bit different because quadrant number 1 is not just evergreen. It could eventually be a trend. For example, let's use the Ukraine niche, for example. Last year, when I created designs for Ukraine niche, nobody knew there was going to be a war. Nobody knew there was going to be issues like this. I had luckily created a lot of designs, and this was I wouldn't even say this was quadrant 1 at the time. I would say it's more quadrant 2. It was low demand. There was not too many people interested, but it was also low competition. Very quickly, as news started to rise, this low competition niche became high demand, and a lot of people were buying. And then, as a lot of people started buying, guess what happened? The sellers started jumping on it, and it went from a low competition and high demand to now a high competition. If you search Ukraine now, there's thousands and thousands of designs that are attached to Ukraine, right? And so you're not going to be, you're not going to have as much as an opportunity to sell. That's why if I created a design now under the name Ukraine, right? And I created a design last year, I had a much higher chance of getting a sale had I posted it last year versus now, right? You guys see the difference there? So in the beginning, right, when a niche is transitioning from quadrant 1 to quadrant 3, and I'm not numbering these because there's a specific order. I'm just numbering them to give you guys textual or geographical kind of mapping here, just to kind of understand where each one is. For quadrant number 1, which is this one, and quadrant number 3 is this one, when it moves over, you want to catch it before it moves over, before it goes into that high competition realm. Because once it's in high competition, there's only one way to get a significant number of sales. Does anybody in the comments know what it is? I mean, maybe you guys could just answer me and pause the screen. Do you know how can you actually get sales if your design is in quadrant number 3? Tell me right now. Well, I'll tell you the answer, and hopefully you guys are right, is that the way to get a significant amount of sales, a lot of sales, when you're in quadrant number 3 is to be at the top of the rank. Well, obviously, right? Sherlock Holmes, obviously you have to be at the top of the rank, but how do you get there? Well, based on our understanding of the algorithm and the criteria that the algorithm is built off of, which one of the criteria is sales history, that's how we can acquire sales. But let's say you catch a trend late, or let's say you catch a niche, late when it's already in quadrant number 3. How can you get sales in that perspective? Well, you have to come in understanding that you're going to need a lot of firepower behind that design, meaning you're going to have a lot of marketing power, whether you use Instagram, whether you use Pinterest, and you're going to have to consistently keep promoting that design until it reaches all the way to the top of the ranking because of the amount of sales that you're getting. So for example, let's go over here to, let's just say page number 2, okay? Let's go to page number 2, all right, for the keyword dog. And do you guys see this design here, for example, that it says hot dog classic t-shirt, this design right here? At one point in time, this hot dog t-shirt, or this design, was on page 5. It was on page 10. It was on page 30. It was on page 90. But the thing is that as time went on and it was exposed to more people, it acquired more sales. As it acquired more sales, it started to then be exposed to even more people, right? And most importantly, it started to rank higher in the page ranking. So it wasn't on page 90 anymore. It became on page 50. Then it was up on page 20. Then it was on page 10, and that was on page 2, right? And I'm just giving you examples of what I mean when I say pages. I'm not really sure what pages it start off at and what pages it's going to end off at, but you get my point when what I'm trying to say is that it's gradually progressing forward in a higher page rank. Well, what happens is that the only way you can allow it to do that is you're going to have to infuse it with sales before it can reach the top. And really what that looks like is probably marketing from other areas. A second way to do that, and when I say other areas, I mean third-party sites, blogs, email marketing, social media, etc. Everything we've discussed on this YouTube channel before, right? You guys can go ahead and watch those videos, and it will help you a lot. But there's a second way that this design can also acquire sales. Now, my fear and my thinking, my method of thinking, my methodology here is that it's not normally, most designs, and that's why only 1 or 2 or 5 can be at the top, but most of the time, it can acquire sales through a second method. What is that second method? If you guys have taken the Autopilot Passive Income Redbubble tagging course, you might know the answer to this because we did go over this in the course. Well, the answer is the other tags that it uses. See, the word dog is a very hard tag to compete in because of its competition size, right? But this t-shirt can rank for other keywords as well and get sales from those other keywords that then drives the design upward for the keyword dog. And that's exactly how, through the other tags that it is tagged with. And if you took the Redbubble tagging course, then you know what I'm talking about because we've discussed this in the tagging course, right? And this was with that piece of information, we created specific strategies to go ahead and move forward into tagging, right? And so if you guys haven't taken the tagging course and you want to be more comfortable with learning how to tag properly on Redbubble, as well as generate some traffic with Google SEO, I urge you, or I recommend you to take the course. The link will be in the pinned comment in the description box and also in the comment box down below. It will be the pinned comment. And this course as well, 30 plus videos, more than 30 videos actually, for the course of a price of $39.99. So if you see here, we have 4 quadrants. And just to summarize, the worst place to be in is this quadrant here, which is low demand, high competition. The best quadrant is to be in high demand, low competition. The second best one is low demand, low competition, because that means despite the low demand, you still have an opportunity to dominate. And the third best quadrant is the high competition, high demand, which only assumes that you could potentially get sales if either A, you're noticed and you move up the ranks through tags, or B, you promote on other social media, email marketing, etc., blogs, all these kind of different methodologies. Now, something that I will say, if you happen to have created designs in quadrant number 4, in low demand, high competition niches, what's going to happen is a lot of people might think, oh my God, I should delete my designs. And the answer is absolutely not. Never delete your work. Never, ever, 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 ever delete your work. I don't care if the niche is over. I don't care if you made a shirt for 2012 and you had it on there and you don't believe in it anymore and you want to delete it. Don't delete it. Do not delete any designs. This is one of the mistakes that you're going to be doing. The only time that you should be deleting a design is if you fear that you're infringing on someone else's IP, trademarks, copyrights, or anything associated with that could potentially get you banned. That's the only time I recommend that an individual should delete something that they've worked hard to create. Other than that, guys, never delete a piece of work that you're going to create. If it's not bringing you any issues like getting banned or anything like that, then there's no reason for you to delete any work on your platform, okay? Because at the end of the day, even if it's not generating you traffic, it's going to take you more time to go find the design, delete it, do all that. In the meantime, you could have created 2, 3, 4, 5 designs, especially if you're familiar with the way we design here through the POD design course. You guys have seen 60 designs in 30 minutes. You could have created 2 designs in 1 minute, right? So we're talking about, the whole process behind that. But this is exactly how you pick a niche. And what I want you to do is I want you to try to think, is this competition a low competition niche? And it's very easy to figure that out, right? A low competition niche, you just look at the amount of results, or is it high competition? And also, I want you to look at the demand. I want you to picture certain keywords, the demand. Now, you could use other tools like a Google search tool and other tools like that to help you. But we've talked specifically in separate video, guys, about microeconomies. And we talked about how Redbubble is a microeconomy or a micronized version of Google. So, for example, if the keyword tiger gets 1 million searches a month on Google, even though it doesn't, but let's just say it does, right? And the word Santa gets 500,000 searches a month, even though it doesn't, but let's just say it does, then we know most likely, unless there's some sort of trend or something like that, we know that the word tiger is going to get more search volume on Redbubble than it is the word Santa on Redbubble. Does that make sense? So it's a micronized economy. All right. So thank you guys for watching this video. Hopefully this video was informative. Hopefully it gave you some guidance. And more importantly, hopefully it gave you a different scope as to how to pick the best niche for your print-on-demand Redbubble journey. All right. You guys can also take this information and apply it to other platforms as well, whether it be Zazzle, whether it be TeePublic, whether it be Cafe Press, whatever kind of platform that you're currently active on today. You could take this notion, this ideology, and apply it to whatever platform you're currently on, okay? I'll talk to you guys later. Thank you guys for watching. As promised, all the links that we've discussed will be in the description box and in the pinned comment, okay? I'll talk to you guys later. Peace out. Bye.